The DIMP Digital Network presents Idle Game Chat.
Hello, Apps here from the DIMP Digital Network. Welcome to Idle Game Chat and welcome back to Games on the Grill. We're here to break down some video games and give our impressions of those. We've got a handful of games to get through on this edition, and I'm once again joined by the former DIMP Digital Gaming Quiz champion. It's Pacman himself, it's Tom Adcock. How you doing, mate?
Hello. Yeah, good, thanks, mate. Not bad. How are you?
Yeah, all good, thank you.
Good.
We've got 3 games on the schedule today. We've got Resident Evil 2, so not Resident Evil 3. This is the remake of Resident Evil 2, which came out in 2019. The Outer Wilds, and the Shadow of the Colossus remake, which, spoiler alert, is perhaps Mr. Adcock's favourite game of all time. But we'll save that for the end as a little dessert for you guys. But Resident Evil 2, Adcock. Now, we both got this at launch last year. I rumbled through both campaigns, like the second run through and the first run through. You did the first run through, then delayed it and didn't do the second run through straight away. I've recently just finished your second run through with Leon. First off, why was the second run through put off until now, almost a year later?
It's a good question. I did initially start it. I think I gave it like 30 minutes, 45 minutes when I played it, but then I can't remember what was going on at the time. I moved on. I just didn't fancy the run through. I kept thinking to myself, I'll go back and do that soon, but you know, the more I forgot and thought, fucking hell, do I really want to be running around that police station shitting my pants again? I think, you know, subconsciously I was putting it off. But then more recently I've tried playing a few games, and you know that kind of feeling when just nothing was sticking. I was like booting things up and I was like, nah, don't fancy this, don't fancy that.
Yeah.
Which, to be honest, for me, the games I've played in this little batch, that's the case. I kind of went back to some old classics and I thought, fuck it, like Resi 3 was out.
Yeah.
Trying to be good with my money. So I thought this, you know, I was in the mood for a bit of Resi and I thought, right, well, that second campaign run through sitting there. Been promising myself I'd go back to it. So I thought, right, let's just do this.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the way to do it, really. If you can help it. What was the irony is the second run through of Resi 2 is probably just as long as the actual game of Resi 3. So time wise, you probably got as much out of this without paying for a brand new game at 45 quid.
Well, yeah. To be honest, that's the thing. I'd forgot enough about it that honestly, it was like, especially at the beginning, it was a real struggle trying to work out what I was meant to do. Once I got out of the station, the other bits are a bit more linear, I find. So
yeah,
kind of whiz through those a bit more. And, you know, like all Resident Evils, as you get your weapons and stuff, I don't know, you become a bit more of a killing machine and things are generally a little bit less threatening. But, yeah, it was in that respect, it was really good. Like, and also, sorry, this is what I was going to say. I think maybe because you played it fresh off the bat, I'm sure when I asked you how long you took to do your second run, it was, I don't know, half the time of the first run, or you know.
Yeah, it was about
something like that.
Yeah, certainly.
Whereas for me, I know you start the game like you don't have the bit where you arrive into the town. I think you're kind of pretty much in the station, so you don't go to visit that shop and stuff. But other than that, it felt pretty much like the same. You know, all the same locations are there. You play as the sub-character again. Yeah. I know the puzzles are kind of mixed around a bit. Locations have changed. But from what I could see, it was pretty much the same game again. Like, my times came in really close to each other. Yeah, no, to be fair, you probably lose that opening bit, and then you maybe start 10-15% through like the Raccoon PD part. So right. maybe 20% overall. You probably cut off like into. I think that's a fair assumption of what. But the rest of it, like from that point onwards, it doesn't skip time or anything. Like you go through your sewers and the lab and all, so you hit through all those bosses that you would normally. It's just that first sort of section of Raccoon. Ironically, when it's at its most peaceful, before that prick comes out and starts chasing you around. This time he's there almost from the get go.
So,
Yeah, he was, yeah. And to be honest, there was like no fanfare. I literally, the first time that fucking Mr. X came around the corner, I literally shits my pants. Oh, yeah, because I think that's right. Because I think the first time he comes is when that helicopter crashes. Or,
that's it, he lifts it up, doesn't he, and comes through
Whereas this time he didn't. He just came out of nowhere and absolutely blindsided me. It was fucking horrible.
Yeah, he's still a scary bastard, even a year on. Although if you look at what Nemesis can do, much more watered down version, but
but I do think from what I know of, like, well, I've played the Nemesis, I've played Resi 3 back in the OG state, and it is a lot more scripted. Like, the thing with him is that constant fear as you're running around. I mean, it only happened to me, well, in the police station once, you know, where I knew where I needed to go, but I'd got myself into a fucking state with like red health, like a licker lurking around where I needed to be, and then the fact that he can come around and absolutely like ruin your run and chase you into a corner, it is terrifying.
He don't fuck off either.
No, those fucking boots clomping around. It's just like, sometimes I was hiding in a safe room and I'd give him a minute, pop my head out, and he's just standing there waiting for me. I'm like, fuck off.
Yeah. I'm surprised they even let you have a safe haven in the safe rooms, because rumour has it Nemesis can get in there. I remember I sent you a little message saying he can get in and start.
I'm hoping that's not true, because that is horrible. You don't need that going on.
You certainly don't. So did you play the original Resident Evil 2?
Yeah, I played it, yeah. I think I only did the one run through on that. I can't remember ever doing a second playthrough.
I never played it because old school tank and all that, fixed cameras, go away. It's like, it's dead, leave it. Tried to go back and do remake 1, toot still. The one of the key things they did in that is on your second run through, is there was stuff that you did in your first run through that played into your second run through, so you could there'd be like a locker there, and you could pick up the weapons or the ammo or the upgrade, or you could leave it, and then the next character could pick it up in their run.
Sweet.
There was a nice little tied together bit. The one negative that I persistently pull out with Resident Evil 2 Remake is that the narrative continuity just isn't there between the two runs. Like, you do the same bosses generally. There's a couple of like unique ones. You go to the same areas, you do the same things. It just, like, if you put both of them together, first run through and second run through, and made like a movie out of both, it wouldn't work, because they're overlapping each other too much.
Oh yeah, almost like, yeah. Apart from, like, as you say, like, there's a couple of things that are unique, but generally speaking, you're both in. I mean, I guess in the canon, whoever you're playing with has arrived first, perhaps.
Yeah.
And then in that, the second person would then just be following behind, having an easier time of it, perhaps. But yeah, do you know what? It never really would have been an issue. But when I heard you guys talk about it on the Game of the Year, and then having gone back and played it recently, I totally agree. Especially with this remake, how much like the effort they've put in, and and having the hindsight, it would have been really nice if they had like sort of shored it up narratively to make it like work as to individual stories. I mean, because a lot of those, I mean, anyone who's played Resident Evil, those early ones, the fucking ludicrousy of the puzzles, and like this is a working police station.
Mate, it's an old museum.
That's fine. That just solves everything. It was a museum. What, you didn't clear the stock out? Nah, just leave it. What? Leave that massive fucking woman or Neptune thing with two arms that clearly do something. Leave that there.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would have been really nice, I think. And probably kind of possible, because a lot of those doors you open with, like, all the stupid medallions, they kind of lock behind you. So it could mean that then there's another set of 3 that would open it again or something. Like, it could work, and it would have been really good. But I guess once you hit the sewers, it's a very different experience. Like, there was a boss I remember from the old days that I believe on that one you got to play it either way. Yeah. On this, I avoided it in my first, even though you sort of it hints at it, you don't get to see it or fight it. So that was kind of one of my main aims, to go back and see that. So
yeah,
and it was nice. It was super cinematic, though not very tough. But yeah, it's good.
It's strange how they kind of half committed to it but didn't do like the tidying up of it. Like, because there are areas and certain sections where it's completely different. Like you mentioned, there's completely unique bosses on each run through. There's even things that happen to characters that don't happen in the second run through, or in Leon's compared to which one is it? Is it Jill?
It's Claire, isn't it?
Claire, fuck it. I keep getting confused with.
No, I know they're all made there. Yeah,
there's certain things that happen to characters in Claire's run through that don't happen in Leon's run through, and vice versa. So I don't know. It's almost like they sort of halfway got through it. Went, oh yeah, we're going to make these two unique but compatible campaigns so that they go hand in hand, and then got halfway through and thought, no, just cut and paste that bit back in, same boss, same lines, just put that in. That don't matter, and sort of gave up on it halfway through. Yeah,
because I would keep finding like notes on my second playthrough from Claire, so it is as if she's been going through first, like she's ahead of me, but. Yeah, then other times, having played through her campaign, I'm now fighting the things she fought and clearing it all out. Like,
strange, but I don't know. It would be like if they just tied that bit up, I'd have been so much. Like, it'd have been stunning in my view.
Yeah, because you could have had like zombies on the floor. You know, the ones where you can't interact; they're just like dead.
Yeah,
like you could have had like a room with two zombies walking around, two zombies that are dead that then reanimate. Like on your second playthrough almost, and they're the two that you're fighting, and the other two are then dead. That would be amazing.
Yeah, certainly. It was on the Game of the Year nominees that we had for DIMP Digital, and obviously raised eyebrows because it's a remake. And my rationale for it was that if you look back and even just look at Resident Evil 2, let alone play it, it's called Resident Evil 2, but this is a much different experience. It's still like a horror genre, but it's a completely different game from the ground up. Do you agree with that, or do you think that remakes, even if they're just in namesake, should be banned from Game of the Years?
No, I think it's brilliant, mate. I think, video games, unlike, a movie, alright, a movie from the 50s, 60s, if it's got special effects, is going to look fucking atrocious. Yeah. But it's a completely different, media, and it just works. They don't technically need to be remade. Yeah. Whereas, as you say, you tried to play. I've when we met, I was rattling off all these old games, and then you went off to try and play some of them, and found they're basically unplayable now. Yeah. So, people complain. I mean, it's annoying when I guess people want Resident Evil 8, and they're sort of technically wasting time on Resident Evil 2 and 3 remake. I get that, but I'm assuming these companies have different teams working on things all the time.
Yeah.
So. The remakes are there. If you want to play them, you can. If not, skip over. You've played the original. They're not forcing you to play them. So I love the fact that it opens it up to new generations and people who might have missed things first time round. So I'm all for it in that respect. And then also, as you say, like, the fundamentals are still there. The story's still there. But other than that, it's unrecognisable from that original game. So
yeah.
Can it even be really classed as a remake? It is a brand new game, essentially, just built on the foundations of that PS1 classic.
When we're going to talk about Shadow of the Colossus later, which is technically a remake, but we'll get more in depth of it. But it pretty much doesn't change a thing other than the graphics on it.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, it tidies up some of the controls and stuff, but it's still not perfect. But yeah, exactly. That is a remake. In all intents and purposes, this is a remake. Obviously, it's called remake in the title, but it's as close to a new game as a remake could ever be, basically. And also, sometimes like some games don't. Colossus, again, it's a classic game that it's been remade twice now, which is maybe a bit mental.
Yeah.
But there's certain games that are just screaming out to be remade, and this Resi 2 absolutely is one. It's a bit strange they didn't do the first one again, but I guess that GameCube one still looks pretty good, and then it's had a HD remaster and whatnot.
It doesn't. I guess they don't. Go and download it and put it on. You'll go, actually, that looks shit still.
No, mate, it looks lovely in my mind. It's exactly where it needs to be.
It looks beautiful in a screenshot, I'll give it that, but when you start roaring round, you're like, what is this? I respect all the old games, but I have to be objective, and they're too old. And I mean, even Resi 4, I played that and bounced off it, and I was like, oh, even that feels. There's people going, oh, it's a flawless game. I'm like, fucking, it ain't.
Yeah.
You can't even walk and shoot. Oh, that's part of it. No, come on. Resi 2 showing how you can do it properly, still retain this survival horror aspect, but actually have shooting mechanics that are functional.
Yeah, I think Resi 4 for me, at the time, it was fucking amazing.
Oh, yeah.
But I think it actually was the start of the decline of the series a bit, like where it really did then start that kind of action shooter genre. It's like almost spawned a whole new genre of its own. And then it kind of, they waited so long and everyone kind of got ahead of them, and 5 and 6 were pretty poor, really. So it'd be interesting to know where they go from here. I've heard people say, Code Veronica, Resi 4.
Resi 4 has been the rumour that they may make that, and I'm 100% up for that. But then you've got people going, no, don't, leave it as it is. It's a classic. It's like, well, it ain't going to do any harm, is it? To have Resi 4
I mean, I'd
made.
like Code Veronica, but I feel like that one's a bit... because, I mean, that was a Dreamcast exclusive. I don't know if it got ported over to other things after. It might have. Yeah. But I think a lot of people would have missed that, and it is...
Is that the one you couldn't finish? Because you definitely had one.
Exactly. So exactly for me, like that'd be to go back and sort of right a massive wrong. I mean, to be honest, it nearly happened to me again here. I thought the last boss was I thought, but basically there's a few little bit of a boss run at the end. Yeah. And I thought, right, I'm on the last boss here, so I just unloaded everything, and then there's a little fucking surprise one. I was like, right, I'm on red health. They didn't give me any more health. I had hardly any ammo left, and I was like, right, I'm stuck here now. This could be really poor, but.
Got through
Luckily, it was more of just a cinematic, really. Like, it wasn't too difficult to take it out. So, yeah. But I was sort of shitting my pants for a second there. I was like, I can't come all this way and now fucking blow it.
No. I think they put fail safes in games now to stop that from being... Like, there is a way to do it, even if you've got, like, almost nothing. But you can imagine back in the Code Veronica days that was not a consideration. It was like, well, that's your own fault, boy.
Fuck that right up.
So what was it? You had loads of health, but no ammo to kill the boss.
Exactly. I think there was probably a really obvious little corridor or something with everything in. I've somehow missed it, or just run ahead to explore. Walked into the final boss room, and then for some reason that was my PS1. I don't know why it was saved on that, but every time I loaded my save, it was like the cutscene before the last boss and me then fighting. So I was fucked.
Considering, like, in Resi games, I don't know if it was like that in Code Veronica, like, you have to manually save a lot of the time for it to checkpoint.
Maybe Code Veronica was. Oh, no, it would have been Dreamcast. And, I have no idea, mate. I don't know how it happened, but it definitely did. Or it was like a typewriter then going on to the last boss. I mean, it's a long time ago, but all I know is I was absolutely stuck. I could last a long time, but I'd always get it down to my knife, like, really quickly, and I was just taking little basic swipes at this fucking monster, ridiculous screen-sized monster. I was like, right, this is never going to happen. Tried it about 15 times, couldn't do it. Never saw the ending.
No, that's a shame. Well, luckily we've got YouTube now, so you've probably gone back and watched what actually happened.
I'm sure I have. I can't remember.
But back then you wouldn't have been able to, would you? Or just
that's it, mate. It's game over.
Yeah, I'm so glad games have started tightening up on things like that, because I couldn't think of anything worse than putting all that time into what are quite hard games if you're, not the best games to play for experience-wise, because you're always on edge, and then not to be able to get the satisfaction of seeing the credits is an absolute stinker. So we've got Resident Evil 3, which is out, and came up short in comparison to Resident Evil 2 in terms of the reviews. Main criticism is the length of the game. Has this inspired you to look at Resident Evil 3 as a purchase in the near future, or is it right, wait for a sale on Resi 3, but definitely going to get it at some point when it feels like it's a bit more worthwhile in terms of price?
Yeah, definitely second one. I mean, these Capcom games typically do drop in price pretty quick, actually. Yeah. So I think it'll only be a few months. And now that I've had a go with Resi 2, and I mean, it's such a good game. I'm happily wait a few months now. I'll definitely 100% get Resi 3. Yeah. I'm happy to wait for it to drop in price, grab a physical, and add it to the collection. Yeah, I'm excited to play it still. I mean, I know it is I think the Resident games are at their best when it's pure survival horror, and this is the first one that kind of leans into the action side a bit. But yeah, I'm on board. I can't wait to go through that world again. Yeah,
no, it's pretty good. One thing that I don't think Resident Evil 2, don't know much about 3, but Resident Evil 2 got much credit for is its replayability. Now, I'm not one for doing that typically, because that's just how I play, but I've seen like a sub community of of players spawn up over Resident Evil 2 to do like speed running and unlocking the S ranks and bits and pieces like that. Because once you know the puzzles and whatnot, it's like quite a brisk run through for people. And
I think you can get it down to like a good 3 hours. Without too much problems. Yeah. And
it's interesting how the game's got sound enough mechanics for people to want to do that, and also rewards you by doing that because you can unlock like unlimited ammo and items and bits and pieces like that. So that's one thing that is often forgot with Resi 2 is that there is a community that's popped up around it because they've designed it as if you want to play it one and done, it's good and you'll be happy and walk away from it. But if you want to keep coming back, we've got stuff for you to unlock, which a lot of places don't typically do.
Yeah, and then that's a little bit strange with I mean, that's the thing I think with between 2 and 3. 3 is just a bit. I think even originally it was kind of rushed out, same engine.
Yeah.
A year later, and it feels like it's just not fundamentally as good a game, basically, which kind of it makes it a little bit strange why they decided to put it out as a full title and not package it for money.
It was going to be a double pack, wasn't it?
Yeah, which would have been amazing. I mean, that would have been some double pack, but yeah, I mean, 2, which we're talking about, it's an amazing game.
Yeah. Last question before I ask for a grading. Alan from Capcom comes to you and says, right, we're going to put out our next game. Code Veronica's off the table, so you can't have that off him. But he says, what we're thinking, Mr. Pacman, is either a Resident Evil 4 remake, so we bring that up to sort of 2020 standards and piss off all the classic players, or we push ahead with Resident Evil 8 and develop that and get that out. Which one are you going to choose off Alan?
I'd go 8. I want to see that new story now. I mean, ideally I'd say both. If I had to choose, we've had 2 remakes now. I say continue the main series, get that first person view out again. Grow on that. There's a lot they can do there. I'm looking forward to when you play through it and talking about number 7. Because it's interesting, man, and it's a different way of. It feels very Resident Evil, but also it's a lot of new points. So I'm ready for the next in the series.
Yeah. It's interesting how, like, if you look at the series, we went from fixed camera tank controls 1 to 3 plus the spin-offs, like a little trilogy there, core trilogy. Then we go to 4, 5 and 6, which are the first steps into an action-orientated game for sort of creating the over-the-shoulder camera that many games after it took and adapted and made better. So you had a little core trilogy there of 4, 5 and 6. And then you got 7, which was first person. And then perhaps we've got 8, which is no doubt in the works somewhere, and then a potential for 9. They could do like a little first-person trilogy.
Yeah, which, I mean, best guess, I'd say exactly what they'll probably do. There's got to be a second, and then the third, knowing there, will be where they take things a bit too far, or, I don't know, start fucking running that into the ground, and they'll look at something else. But it's good that they're brave with the franchise, and they do, they've changed it up. I mean, not always for the better, but they're willing to take risks with it, considering it is one of their sort of big sellers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, Resident Evil 2, what are you going to give it for a little score?
Do you know what? I was just thinking this, obviously I knew you was going to do it, so I'm going to say, it's probably the first game I've graded is this, but I'm going to give it the full 10.
Cool.
Yeah. Do you know, like just talking through it again, I've probably enjoyed it better second time round. I'm like, the only criticism, I know I agree with you, is that sort of narrative kind of missing the boat. But I'm like, it's the atmosphere, the mechanics, the graphics, like everything about it is fucking amazing. The fact that you can play it through, even without the speedrun side, you've got like, you can do the campaigns both like as an A and a B, and then obviously you can then do the second part of that. So you've got 4 core campaigns you can do. I mean, I'm guessing they're very similar, but you got that. Then you've got the Fourth Survivor. Then you got that Tofu mode or whatever. So there's just so much there. Like, what else could you ask for? And it's probably the best in the whole franchise, like of the core franchise. It builds on 1. It's before it gets to the action side of things.
Yeah.
If you're into survival horror, this is probably the peak, really.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there you go. Resident Evil 2, the full 10 out of 10. It's an excellent game. It's my favourite from last year, and won our game of the year as well. So
yeah,
if you've not played it, if you're torn between 2 and 3, probably just get 2 because you'll get more out of it. Unless you're married to the fact of having online play, because 3 does come with that. little online mode. But Resident Evil 2 is fantastic. So I'm going to head on and talk about the Outer Wilds, not to be confused with the Outer Worlds, because we had both of those games last year, and I've played both actually, ironically enough. Outer Worlds was Obsidian's RPG. The Outer Wilds is an indie project that deals with exploration and space and bits and pieces like that. Almost like, I guess the best way to describe it off the bat, before I let you grill me on this, is it's kind of like if you imagine No Man's Sky, you know, the puddle that is so wide but not very deep. We've used that analogy. This is like the small puzzle but very deep. So you're kind of set in one solar system, one world, but all the planets have their own unique atmosphere, structures, and bits and pieces going on and puzzles. Yeah. And you're tasked with really exploring this one galaxy to its complete full to get to the end of the game.
Okay. But this isn't the one with like the time loop or something where there's been a disaster, is it?
It is.
It is. Okay, so I do know of this game. Okay.
Yeah, so there is a time loop for the Outer Wilds. So each time you start, I think it's 20 minutes or so, something like that. There's an exact countdown that you can find somewhere. But yeah, so every 20 minutes the game will essentially reset. There'll be like a catastrophic event, and then you'll wake up.
Is it like the star in the galaxy explodes or something?
Yeah, right. Yeah, there's those of you that are familiar with the space and how things work. There is some sort of star explosion, I believe. I'm not the man to be handing out advice like that, which is why NASA probably never got back to me on the job application. But there's essentially, that's the reason for the time loop, and you've got 20 minutes to go and do what you can, and then it'll reset and you'll be back to the start, and you'll go out again, try and get a bit further and find some more information. But it's really, really clever. I guess that's the one thing that impressed me, was just that it's not one of those games that holds your hand. You have to kind of go out of your way to find out about things, read things, remember things, and then apply what you've learned to get to sort of the next stage. And the cleverness of the puzzles are probably a bit too much for my liking. Like, you know, sometimes when you think, right, that's just a little bit too out there. But they're logical, but some of the stuff I was like, that took me forever, and really I shouldn't have had to have been sitting there for ages trying to do that. But I completely respect what they've done. They've really gone out on a limb to make this a game that makes you think, makes you take a step back, which is kind of at odds with the 20-minute time loop restriction. That's another thing where you kind of think, right, I've got to try and work out this puzzle, but I'm constantly under the cosh of trying to do it in the 20 minutes. So there's a little bit of inconsistency there. But really, for like an indie game that started off as, I think it was originally crowdfunded at the very beginning, like they've done a really, really good job with it, and not much else out there that I've played that comes close to this. Like No Man's Sky, but galaxies that are got super in-depth, super rich history and story involved in finding out what's been going on. And yeah, it's got some really nice accolades, which probably it deserves, to be honest. Look back on it.
There's like the different worlds. I'm assuming, you know, forest, ice world, whatever. Is it kind of like Metroidvania-esque in that you need to get different like power-ups to sort of get further into those planets, or like the like the flora and fauna or whatever of the planet? Does that like hinder you in different ways, or is that kind of not really?
It does have those Metroidvania type moments in it, but it's not necessarily an item that you'll need. It's more about the knowledge of how something works.
Right.
So rather than it being like, oh, you've now got a grappling hook, you can get up there, it's more about, oh, you found this scripture somewhere that tells you how it's set up and what the puzzle is.
Got ya.
And then you can then apply that. So one example is one of the planets you go on is like a water world. There's a few odd planets settled around them there, but there's like tornadoes flying around, and when the tornado goes over the island, it rips up the planet, or the little island, from the water and sticks it out into space. So every sort of 6 minutes that might happen, and then if that happens and you're out in the wild of it and you're in space, your gravity changes, so you can float off and lose contact with the planet. So that's just one example of how an island or a planet can be different.
Got ya.
And ironically, there is an ice one, and there's only a certain part of it you can access when it's near the sun because it melts the ice.
Right.
So there's things like that going, and all of them have these little ways in which they work, and you have to really get your timing down as to when you go and visit each part and to try and get through the different sort of puzzles that present themselves on the planets.
I'll be on board for this. Is this on Game Pass?
Yep, that's the reason why I played it, to be honest.
Right.
It's
okay.
You have to. It's one of those ones. It won't give you anything really. It'll give you a small amount of guidance, but you've got to really be prepared to be sitting there going, right, I'm a bit stumped here.
Yeah.
Where to go or how to get there. But you've got a little ship that you can fly around in. You can get out your ship and fly around in your spacesuit and whatnot. But yeah, it really is a cool game, really. And it's been in development a long time. And they've done an excellent job with it.
Sounds good, mate. All right. Well, do you want to say anything else, or do you want to give it a score?
I'll go straight into the little score. I think, like I said, it's clever, good, rich sort of narrative and lore. It's more of a lore-based game. There's no real cutscenes in it, so think of like Bloodborne, where you read things and you apply it to the game. Bit too clever for my liking, but as I said, can definitely give a nod to the developers for even coming up with the ideas that they did and implement them into a game. Game Pass gem, so if you've got Game Pass, no excuses, get on it. 8.5.
Nice. Bloody hell. Sweet.
Yeah, good game. The Outer Wilds, not the Outer Worlds. Both on Game Pass. How ironic is that? Shadow of the Colossus, Adcock.
Yeah, we're back.
How many times do you reckon you've played this in your life?
I reckon this is playthrough number 4, potentially 5.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so not
that many then.
No, not massive. I mean, I've definitely dabbled and, maybe played the first few bosses numerous times. But yeah, all the way through, I'd say 1, 2, 3. I'd say this is probably, 5.
Yeah.
And first time of the remake on PS4.
Yeah. First off the bat, the game looks fucking ace, doesn't it, with all the remake stuff they've done.
Oh, it's beautiful. It is actually, it's probably 3 years old now. It still looks incredible. Sometimes when you're on your little horse running, you're just looking around at that world, and some of the like waterfalls and stuff, it is beautiful.
Yeah. Some people were saying that the added visual bits and the small license they took with like adding grass here and there detracts from the original game's vision. Do you agree or disagree with that sentiment? Because they're like, well, the original is meant to be completely barren. It's not.
Not at all. When you see those side-by-side comparisons, man, I mean, I know what you mean. They've taken some like liberties or whatever, but no, not at all. It looks amazing, and I'm sure if they could have done that back in the day, they would have done. Yeah. It's a bit of grass, for fuck's sake.
The key with this one, like we mentioned earlier with Resident Evil 2, is Resi 2 is a completely different game. Controls, atmosphere, well, maybe not atmosphere, but controls and how the game functions. This is very much the same game, built with new graphics and whatnot, and just tidying up some of the controls. But the actual feel of the game is pretty much on par with what would come before it.
Yeah,
it's like a remaster, really. It's like it's taking the core code and then just putting it into a much better looking engine with a few little tidy ups. But you're not going to see new Colossi. You're not going to have new puzzles there. That's all been left completely untouched.
Yeah, and rightly so. I don't think this game it's a simple game. It doesn't need changing in any way. To be honest, I think I give these old games a lot of like leeway and passes. And what I noticed with this, it looks spectacular. And even though they've done their best to clean up that camera, my God, like I mean, I think you can put the old controls on. It still doesn't control brilliantly.
No.
And that camera really gets snarled up sometimes. So the negatives, I would say, like I haven't played that original PS2 one now in years.
Yeah.
It's probably best never to go back to it, is what I'd say. That is the beauty of these remakes and remasters, like not having to go back, because I reckon it would be very jarring.
Yeah, I think this generation, I remember when I played through it, I just was like, when I was playing through it, I was like, this now, a game that was made on the PS2, like graphically stands up to anything, well, not anything, but it
still looks
look
good,
out of place.
No.
It doesn't look out of place with some of the stuff that gets up-res and redone. You're like, I can still see that's a little bit old. they haven't quite tied that up. But Shadow of the Colossus, this remake makes the game look superb. And I thought, because I played the HD remaster, because they had it on PS3, didn't they?
Yeah.
On PlayStation Now through the streaming service when they're still there now.
Oh yeah.
They've got a download service as well. And can you imagine there's a little bit of input lag there, and the frame rate was a bit all over the place because of my connection, and the game itself chugged. Let's be honest, there was some performance issues in the original, more so in the HD remaster. And I got through it, and I was like, that was a really enjoyable game, but that kind of spoilt the experience for me. So when they announced Shadow of the Colossus on PS4, I was like, right, day one, getting that, and this is now, in my view, and I'm not attached to the originals, the definitive way to play and experience this great game.
Yeah, I mean, 100% agree. I mean, I'm glad I didn't touch that HD remaster, to be honest. The one that came out on PlayStation 3. I mean, it's strange now because it's now. I mean, how many games? I mean, is there any other games that have been remade twice, like across?
I don't know. Yeah,
like 3 direct generations. I mean, what I would say is there's no excuse at this point not to play the game. I think it was given. Mm-hmm. Oh, it was. I've actually, because I bought this on release and haven't played it yet. But it's, bizarrely, the version I played was the one that was given away as a free giveaway game. I don't know when it was now. A few months ago. I can't remember if it was this year or last year.
Yeah.
But yes, it was just sitting there, and I actually went through my games just to see what I had to install when I was struggling to play anything, and this was there, and I thought, you know what, this, I haven't played it in a while. I know it's quick. I know my way around the world. Yeah. And so I mean, I beat it in 4.5 hours, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, thoroughly enjoyed it again.
Is there anything other than the camera that is probably just inherent from the original game, but anything they did in terms of the changes they've made? They didn't make many changes, it's mainly visual stuff, but was there anything that was a bit like, I don't like what they've done with that, or was it like, they've done a really good job with keeping the core gameplay the same, so that the old school players like you can still, your way around it, how it works and whatnot, but just giving it that fresh coat of paint that it probably desperately needed, if you look back.
It did, yeah, exactly. No, I had absolutely no complaints of anything they'd done. Because the thing is, with these older games, as time moves on and graphics get better, you still just remember the game looking as good as today's games anyway, and it's a real fucking kick in the balls when you actually go back and play it and be like, fuck you now. So it's kind of playing the game as you remember it, but with your nostalgia glasses on. So it's literally perfect. It's exactly what you would want it to be. It just makes it attainable for people who are coming in now.
Yeah.
And then, anyone going back to revisit, you're basically getting the game that you remember, basically.
Yeah, agreed. Are you a little bit disgusted with yourself that it's taken you this long to play through it, since you did have it on release? Did you get the little Colossi figure with me?
Yeah, man, you got me one. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what was out at the time. I mean, to be honest, I'm not, because I know the game inside and outside, so it was no bother. It was just whenever I fancied it. I'm surprised it's taken me 2 years or 2.5 years to actually get around to it. Yeah. But it's probably a game I'll always go back to once in a while. It's just the simplest format. It's stripped back to everything other than those boss battles that are kind of like puzzles in themselves.
Yeah,
it holds up well. I mean, it's probably always going to hold up well because it's just the core gameplay works. I mean, that camera is a bit of a sickener. But I love how stripped back the story is as well. I'd love to see what's left of the studio, or Iwata or whatever his name is, what he's going to do next, if he's going to do anything next, and how long it takes him.
Mate, Last Guardian, we've had it.
Well, yeah, that was 4 years ago now, weren't it? Surely
4 or 5, yeah.
Got to be ready for what's next now.
Crazy. I love The Last Guardian. I know people didn't like it, but I really...
Oh, mate, yeah, I liked it. Do you know, another game, I mean, that has got some fucking control issues, but I'd like to go back and play that again, actually.
Yeah. Weird, isn't it? Even what's that first one they had to go out?
Ico.
They all have that similar sort of issue where the controls and the camera aren't the best, yet they all have their own sort of endearing redemption in terms of when you actually sit down and play it, whether it's story or unique moments that you just learn to appreciate.
Well, it's just creating worlds that are probably uncomparable, and then little characters and stories within those worlds that you just want to follow through, you know. And any game where it's like kind of not spelled out for you, and when you finish you kind of want to know how other people interpret it. I guess the only thing kind of similarly would be like Limbo and Inside, those type of games. Yes. Braid, you know, where you're kind of like, what was going on there? Like, what does that mean? Fucking Japanese nutters writing all kinds of stories. But yeah, and I love the way the games all kind of have like little links to each other to show they're in the same universe at least.
Yeah, agreed. They are excellent games. Would you be interested in an Ico remaster or remake in this same vein, where it brings all the graphics and the performance up to an acceptable standard for these days?
I would actually. I mean, probably if they were going to do it, they should have done it, you know, off the back of the Colossus hype. But also, it'd be nice then, and then package the three together would be a pretty sweet deal, wouldn't it? So like some sort of like high-end collector's edition for those who want it. But then, maybe at this point, then if they could get that one up to sort of PS4 levels, then they could say, right, they're all out on the PlayStation 4, and then just leave them. That's it. Put them all to bed and move on with something.
They'll probably release it as a PlayStation 5 exclusive package and be like, right, you have to get the PS5 to play these three in their best form. Everyone will be like, right, what are you doing, Sony? Stop trying to nick our money. If you were to rank the three, where would you put each of them in their sort of, 1, 2, or 3? You've got Ico, Last Guardian, and Colossus.
I'll probably go Colossus, Ico, Guardian, but that is like, Ico I've played through once, like PlayStation 2 days. We're talking 15 years ago, so that might be just, and it was the first of them. And that's not a knock on Last Guardian. It's just that anything coming in off the back of Shadow of the Colossus. All that hype, the cancellation, the fact that it got reignited, coming in, it was a much tougher sell than the best way to play any game, watch any film, do anything is just underhype it, don't know anything about it. So
that's the Last Guardian had the opposite, where it was it was hyped, it died, it was never going to happen, then it did happen, and it was
exactly the fact that game it came out. Yeah. Not only is it just playable, I actually thoroughly enjoyed it. That is beyond my wildest dreams in that respect. Like, I did not expect that to be the case at all.
No. Go on then, Shadow of the Colossus remake. What's the score?
Going to give it a crisp 9. It's it misses the 10 or 9.5 just because those controls are to be fair, and the camera is really. I mean, it's clearly unfixable, really, because. But I think the less you know, if in 2020 you still haven't played it and you're interested, the less you know, the better. It is, it's probably better to not have the hype that I've given it or we've given it, but it is one of my favourite games. It is simple. It's got a really stripped back, brilliant little story. It keeps you thinking. It is an amazing game.
Is it still your favourite game of all time?
I mean, I don't know if I've ever officially say that. I mean, they rotate. I've got a core amount, I don't know, 5 or 6 games, probably like most people, that I kind of differ about. But it's up there. It's definitely in my top, 1% of games or whatever, or that top echelon of games that I'd always say are my favourites.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, on that note, we'll leave this edition of Games on the Grill, another 3 churned out for your enjoyment. As always, if you found us anywhere, you can subscribe to the podcast by just searching for Idle Game Chat, and you can do that on any good podcast outlet: Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify. If we're not on your podcast app, I would suggest you get a new app. Is my suggestion, because we are pretty much everywhere. You must be on some cowboy version of it. And also, if you're listening on YouTube, great to have you there. And if you prefer just to have an audio version, because we don't do any video, then find an app, download it, and it'll automatically tell you when we've got a new episode up. But again, nothing more for us to say apart from thanks for your time, and ta-da.
This was a DIMP Digital production.